Michael Mercier, French-Italian screen goddess known as Angélique. A review of her legendary 5-film role that stretched from 1964 to 1968. Michelle Mercier.
Actrice Française.
Michelle Mercier, born New Year's Day 1939, is a French actress perhaps best known for playing the lead role of Angélique in the mid-1960s film series of the same name based on the 1956 sensational novel Angélique, The Marquise of the Angels by husband and wife writing team of Anne and Serge Golan. Their mid-17th century character was based on a real-life Suzanne du Plessis-Bellière, who was one of France's most famous women from the time of Louis XIV, the Sun King. The historical Suzanne first appeared in a French novel in the mid-19th century, one by Alexandre Dumas, père, called Le Vicomte de Bragelonne, Ou dix ans plus tard. Similar to these 5 films inspired by the Golan's novel of, by 1961, 6 books, Angélique, The Marquise of the Angels, which is the first book published in 1957, the novel expanded to 13 books after the 1964 film's release. Dumas's novel, the third of his D'Artagnan trilogy, was also serialized in popular media from 1847 to 1850. Michelle Mercier as Angélique is a French-Italian beauty who has entered the pantheon of screen goddesses based largely on the legendary 5-film role that stretched from 1964 to 1968. For the part of Angélique, many other beautiful and more famous actresses were approached before Michelle Mercier, who was little known in the French cinema at the time. Seasoned French film producer Francis Cosny, 1916 to 1984, wanted sex symbol Brigitte Bardot to play the part, but she rejected the offer. Young Catherine Deneuve was considered perhaps too naive for the lusty role. American Jane Fonda spoke French, but could an American play fully a quintessentially French role? Italian beauty Verna Lisi was too busy doing Hollywood films. Not being already famous eliminated statuesque Danish actress Annette Strøyberg from the running until ultimately Michelle Mercier was decided upon after almost losing the part to French actress Marina Vladi, who at the last minute didn't sign the contract. When the opportunity of Angélique presented itself to Michelle Mercier, she was a relative newcomer to the French cinema. But this was not the case for her either in French theater arts or Italian films, where before 1964 she had acted in over 20 of them. With a father who was French and mother who was Italian, Michelle Mercier, from her early teens growing up in Nice, France, was determined to be a professional ballet dancer. In 1957, at 17 years old, she moved to Paris, which was a decision that changed her life. By 1960, when she was just 20 years old, she was acting in French New Wave film director François Truffaut's second film, Shoot the Piano Player. After Angélique, The Marquise of the Angels was released, an unlikely heroine's role where Angélique's singular flaming red-haired beauty is acknowledged throughout. The role became a blessing and a curse for the budding actress Michelle Mercier. It catapulted her to instant stardom so that her fame rivaled sex symbol Brigitte Bardot in celebrity and popularity, but the role in 5 popular films typecast her and effectively ended her film career almost as soon as it started. Following the first Angélique film in 1964, Michelle Mercier starred in 4 sequels that includes Merveilleuse Angélique in 1965, Angélique et le Roi in 1966, Indomptable Angélique in 1967, and Angélique et le Sultan in 1968. All these films in the series were directed by French film director Bernard Borderie, 1924 to 1978, and starred Michelle Mercier, which bestowed upon the stories a consistent filmic world, but also encased the beautiful star in a popular role that was virtually impossible to escape from. Following the 5th and final film of the Angélique series in 1968, the French-Italian beauty went on to make 6 more films before her career ended in 1972. Although Michelle Mercier had always appeared in a variety of film genres, the actress played dozens of other women besides Angélique. It was for this 17th-century fictional character in 5 memorable films in 1960s France that has affixed her into the pantheon of screen goddesses for which she receives enduring adoration today. Michelle Mercier on the cover of the April 20, 26, 1968 French weekly magazine, Télé 7 Jours with Jacques Chazot. In these months, Michelle Mercier was riding high in the Angélique film series. Indomptable Angélique had been released in October 1967 and was a worldwide smash hit. In the film, Angélique discovers that her first husband is alive, and Angélique travels to the south of France, not realizing he is now an infamous pirate. Angélique is captured by slave traders and taken far away to Crete where they intend to sell her. In March 1968, Angélique et le Sultan had just been released. It became the fifth and unintended final entry in the Angélique series based on the novels of Anne and Serge Golan. A planned sixth film called Angélique the Rebel was announced but never made. Michel Mercier Angélique Series Filmography 1964.
Angélique, Marquise des Anges.
Michel Mercier as Angélique. Directed by Bernard Borderie. Released December 8, 1964. Distributed by SN Prodi, Gloria Film, Butcher's Film Distributors. 1965. Marvelous Angélique. Merveilleuse Angélique. Michel Mercier as Angélique. Directed by Bernard Borderie. Released July 7, 1965. Distributed by SN Prodi, Gloria Film. 1966. Angélique and the King, Angélique et le Roi. Michel Mercier as Angélique. Directed by Bernard Borderie. Released February 4, 1966. Distributed by Gloria Film. 1967. Untamable Angélique. Indomptable Angélique. Michel Mercier as Angélique. Directed by Bernard Borderie. Released October 27, 1967. Distributed by SN Prodi, Gloria Film. 1968. Angélique and the Sultan, Angélique et le Sultan. Michel Mercier as Angélique. Directed by Bernard Borderie. Released March 13, 1968. Distributed by SN Prodi, Gloria Film. The potential for turning the Angélique books into movies was first realized in the 1960s when 5 French-language films based were released. They starred Michel Mercier, a young but experienced actress from Nice, as Angélique, and Robert Hossein as Geoffrey de Peyrac. It is believed that Mike Todd, who was famous for producing Around the World in 80 Days and perhaps more famous for one time being married to Elizabeth Taylor, had been interested in producing the films, but he died in a plane crash before he could undertake the project. Instead, they were directed by Frenchman Bernard Borderie. All 5 were produced by Francis Cosny, the final 2 in partnership with François Chavon. Today, the films are still shown regularly on TV in French-speaking countries as well as in Italy, Japan, and Russia, so were certainly a commercial success. But it has to be said that, and Golan herself has stated that she was not satisfied with the end result. In a recent interview, she explained that she hopes to see new versions of the books dramatized for the screen, and revealed, "One of my wishes is to see the film made the way Angélique was, because in the first films, Michel Mercier was chosen because she was the girlfriend of the director. In those films, Angélique is written to be like Michel Mercier, and not like she really is. So I would like to see a film with the real Angélique."